Imagine waking up in a place you don't recognize, with no memory of how you got there. Now imagine that place is a perfectly preserved, fully furnished 1950s American town, completely empty and surrounded by an impenetrable, invisible barrier. This isn't a dream. This was Elias Thorne's reality. One moment he was a 21st century architect in Chicago, and the next he was the sole inhabitant of a town frozen in time. What would you do? How would you survive? This is the story of how one man solved the impossible puzzle of Havenwood. Elias's first day was a blur of confusion and panic. He checked every house, every shop, every car parked neatly by the curb. They were all unlocked, pristine, as if the owners had just stepped out for a moment. Food was in the pantries, clothes were in the closets, but there were no people. Not a single soul. He shouted until his voice was hoarse, the sound swallowed by the eerie silence of the idyllic town. He ran to the edge of town, a place where the pristine asphalt of Main Street simply stopped, and slammed his hands against a solid, unseen wall. It didn't budge, it didn't make a sound, it was just there. He was trapped. Panic gave way to a cold, methodical need to survive. Elias, being an architect, had a mind for systems and structures. He started by taking inventory. He designated the town diner as his base of operations, its large kitchen and ample storage making it the logical choice. He systematically went through the houses, gathering non-perishable food, tools, batteries, and anything else he thought might be useful. He discovered the town's power grid was functional, a low hum emanating from a small power station at the edge of town. Water flowed from the taps, clean and fresh. It was a comfortable prison, but a prison nonetheless. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Elias fell into a routine. He'd spend his mornings maintaining his homestead, tending to a small garden he'd started in the town square. Afternoons were for exploration and investigation. He read through the books in the library, scoured the newspapers in the local press office, all dated up to June 8, 1958. After that, nothing. It was as if time itself had stopped on that specific day. He treated the town as a giant puzzle box. Every detail, every object could be a clue. Why was the clock tower frozen at 3:15? Why was there a single out-of-place, modern-looking key in the mayor's office drawer? He tried everything to escape. He used tools to try and dig under the barrier, but the ground was as hard as concrete. He tried building a ramp to go over it, but the barrier extended upwards indefinitely. He even tried using a car to ram it, resulting only in a crumpled vehicle and a bruised shoulder. The barrier was absolute. During this time, the loneliness was his greatest enemy. He started talking to the mannequins in the department store, giving them names and personalities, creating a phantom community to keep the madness at bay. He'd have conversations with Margaret, the stylish mannequin in the window display, telling her about his day and his theories. One afternoon, while searching the high school science lab, he found a series of complex blueprints. They were far too advanced for the 1950s, detailing electromagnetic fields and quantum physics. Tucked inside the blueprints was a journal. It belonged to a Dr. Elias Thorne, his grandfather. Elias's heart pounded in his chest. He vaguely remembered his family talking about his grandfather, a brilliant but eccentric physicist who had disappeared under mysterious circumstances decades ago. The journal was filled with frantic entries about a project called the Sanctuary Protocol. According to the journal, his grandfather had foreseen a catastrophic global event. He believed the only way to preserve a piece of humanity was to create a temporal stasis field, a bubble in time where a small community could wait out the apocalypse. The town, Havenwood, was his ark. The journal detailed how the field generator, located beneath the clock tower, would sustain the town in a looped moment of time, powered by a geothermal source deep beneath the earth. But something went wrong. The activation sequence failed to include the town's inhabitants, trapping an empty shell instead. The final entry was chilling. The field is unstable without a biosignature to anchor it. It's collapsing. I have to initiate an emergency tether, one life to save the possibility of many. I'm sorry, my dear grandson. May you find this and understand. The key is the anchor. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The out-of-place key from the mayor's office, the clock tower frozen at 3:15, the time of activation. His own name, Thorne. He wasn't a random victim. He was the anchor. His grandfather had tethered the collapsing field to his own bloodline, pulling him through time to stabilize the bubble. Elias rushed to the clock tower, the modern key feeling heavy in his hand. He found a hidden panel at the base of the tower, and inside was a control console that looked just as out of place as the key. There was a single keyhole. He stood there for a moment, the silence of Havenwood pressing in on him. He could use the key to shut down the field. It would likely destroy the town, but it might also send him home, back to his own time. Or he could leave it be, living out his days in his gilded cage, a lonely king in an empty kingdom. He looked around at the peaceful, sun-drenched street, at the diner that had been his home, at the phantom faces of the community he had created in his mind. This was his grandfather's legacy. A failed ark, a desperate hope. With a deep breath, Elias inserted the key and turned it. But he didn't turn it to the off position. He turned it to a different setting, one labeled reintegration. The blueprints had shown another function, a gamble his grandfather had built in. It wouldn't shut the field down. It would attempt to realign it with the current timeline, slowly and carefully. A deafening alarm blared from the tower, the ground began to shake, and the hum of the power station grew to a roar. The invisible barrier around the town flickered, becoming visible for the first time as a shimmering wall of light. It began to recede, slowly, inch by inch, revealing not the familiar Illinois landscape he knew, but a barren, rust-colored wasteland under a hazy, orange sky. His grandfather had been right. There had been a catastrophe. As the barrier finally dissipated, the preserved 1950s air of Havenwood mixed with the dusty, metallic tang of the outside world. Elias stepped out of the town limits for the first time, his shoes crunching on the dry alien soil. He was no longer a prisoner. He was a survivor. Before him was a new world, a broken world, but he wasn't just an architect from the 21st century anymore. He was the keeper of Havenwood, the last bastion of a world that was lost. His mission was no longer just about survival. It was about rebuilding. He turned back to the pristine, timeless town, a beacon of the past in a desolate future. The impossible puzzle was solved, but a much larger one had just begun. Thank you so much for watching this journey unfold. If you enjoy stories that challenge the imagination, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. We'd love to hear what you would have done in Elias's shoes, so leave your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.